I'm gonna try to answer as many of these questions the best I can, especially in a commonsensical type of way. Why does one photo from behind show the man on the road is not handcuffed and the video in front show he is? Well, I would have to say it seems like they're two different videos. And maybe there's a time lapse in between there. I mean, you have different angles from different cameras showing different things in different time frames doing it. That's part one. Why is the cop car in the restaurant? Oh, wait a minute. Why is the cop car in the restaurant surveillance video different than the one? Oh, okay, somebody just sent me some. Different than the car and the blah 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 line behind the car numbers. We don't know if another car had pulled up and he got shifted over because I know he was taken out of one car and put into another. First, he was over in the car, then they put him against the wall, then he wound up over there on by the car tire. Why were the cops in the surveillance footage that arrested him different than the police in the actual incident? Because more cops showed up. It's the best I can say for that one there, to be honest. I saw more cops show up. Why does the video show a diesel fuel price is 99 cents the regular price in the area of 249? No clue when it comes to gas prices. None. Why does the police car have a non-municipal license plate with police on it? I'd have to see that one. What, police, a non-municipal plate that just said police? I'd like to see that. Because a lot of people are putting certain images out, so I don't really know about that one either. Why does Derek have a completely different police badge on on top of a second police badge matching his partners if they work for the same precinct? No clue when it comes to that one either. I noticed that one, the other guy looks a little bit different. Let me scroll down a little bit. Let me see something here. I don't know. I don't know if it's just the angle of it or something. I'm not really sure. I don't have an answer for that one. Let me see. Why is it not odd that both officers, Toteo and whatever the hell, Derek Chauvin, both previously investigated for excessive force, Amy Klobuchar? Well, yeah, I remember about that one, but yeah, she didn't wind up firing him. So that proves at least that's going to wind up dispelling one of those down the line here. So if he was investigated by Amy Klobuchar, both of them, that means he was actually a cop. Now it's something down here that somebody was saying neighbors didn't know he was a cop. I'm gonna get to that in a moment. So anyway, let me keep going here. Is married to his partner's sister Kelly. So what? Nothing wrong with that. Is there any cop dumb enough to continue kneeling on someone's neck for 8 minutes when surrounded by people and being video recorded? Absolutely, absolutely. The same thing happened to Eric Garner. You had people around that were videotaping it, but you had other policemen around. So here's general logic for the people that's standing around. If you go in and push the cop off, there's an innate fear of being arrested or being shot yourself for either interfering in police business or either assaulting a policeman. And for the fact that these people didn't necessarily know why exactly he was in this position, because a lot of them had not seen what he had done or known what he had done prior to him being detained and then subsequently killed, or as they say, killed, whatever. And so with that being said, people wanted to film it for posterity regardless. So let me continue on. Is it possible for the deceased cousins and fiance to be completely tearless? Tell me how I didn't notice that. I noticed that that broad was tearless, talking about that he was a Christian and he wouldn't want people being mad at the cops and all that other stuff. Some shit she was saying. I was like, get the fuck out of here. You ain't really love that motherfucker, because obviously we didn't even see it with none of his family members. Her ass was somewhere else. I ain't never seen her and the family members together. Why does the main cop have one hand in his pocket most of the time while he's kneeling? I noticed that too, for leverage. You put your hand in your pocket for leverage. Why did the kneeling officer appear completely cool and calm as he was posing for the cameras? You know what? And here's what I said before. Now, for people to sit up there and say, and I've shown it on my page in video, where the FBI has said that yes, the Klan and other hate groups have infiltrated the police department for probably more than 30 some years. They are deeply rooted in. And I even showed a video that you might not have seen, Mr. Jeff, where a cop from up there in Muskegon got fired for having all that Klan memorabilia and then having a Klan sign-up list in his house. He wound up getting his ass fired for that. And then the Klan was in a lot of police departments in Florida as well. The Klan can't go around in their robes and do the people's work. So of course, why not join the police force, join the military, and then come back for your agenda? The same way, how's it not possible? The same way we've had Arabs come to this country, join the military, and then shoot up people over at Fort Hood and all these other places. Arabs that have been in the military for quite some time, then all of a sudden just turn. It's the same thing, but just different objectives somewhat. You have people that these Chinese that come over here. A lot of these motherfucking students are spies that's working in these companies. They're spying for China. Part one. You have Arabs coming over here that are joining the military just to try to ambush and kill other American troops. So how can you tell me that there's not no Klan members in the goddamn police department? Every police department has its corruptions. That's where you get Hill Street Blues, NYPD, all those cop shows. There was always a corrupt wing within the police department because that stereotype is rooted in reality. It's a fact. No matter if it's black, white cops, whatever, there's corruption in all these police departments in some capacity. So I felt like he was posing on his neck like that, like the motherfucker was a game, like a safari trophy. So the thing is, once he gets out of jail, if he does go to jail, you mean to tell me that some hate groups are not going to want to bring him in as a hero? This man will be a national landmark. He'd be a martyr for the cause. Because there are still people out here in 2020 that are hateful. And the thing is, Mr. Jeff, what you don't understand is that these people, to our black faces and the way our brown eyes, everybody looks the same as white. We see white people. We can't see your character right away. We can't see your true intention right away. So black people are skeptical of white people not knowing their full intent. When you're not in a robe, when you're not in a Klan robe, how the hell can you tell who's in the Klan until you around them enough and kind of get to know where they're, how they're lean and what their true intentions and thoughts are. You can't tell. White people look alike if they ain't in the robe, because you still see that white skin underneath there. You can't tell. You put them in a police uniform, you can't tell they in the Klan until they start doing things like that. Let's see, why was the same attorney hired? Let me see, police killings of black. Well, Benjamin Crump, he gets you the most money. That's why. That's easy. Why does store surveillance show video of Floyd calmly, submissively walking, his officer not restraining? No idea. For 15. Why did the EMT workers wearing police uniforms include bulletproof vests, roughly handle and dump unconscious George on the stretcher? That's a good one too. And I'm going to say this right now. I was one of the first people I knew who felt Sandy Hook was a setup. So to say that certain things aren't psyops, I'm not saying they're not. I don't know 100%, and neither do you or anybody else, whether this was a psyop or not. Any crime scene of anybody getting killed can be broken down and scrutinized to every little detail, because we're looking at it, through the lens of like revisionist history. That's how we're looking at it. Can someone really not breathe when someone kneels on their neck and see considerable periods of time? Absolutely, and that's been proven. I've showed you that both of those autopsies came back and they said that it was murder. I'm not a doctor, and neither one of us are. Post killing, Why is a white man that looks like undercover cop St. Paul vest, let me see, carrying a blue black umbrella walking around? You got me with that one too. That was interesting. I remember seeing that. Why were almost all the rioters leading the destruction of the neighborhood at the beginning of the riots white and not from Minneapolis in the black neighborhood after police killed a black man? Antifa sent them in. Because the thing is that you got blacks in Antifa as well, so they were mixed in. It was a lot of mixed in shit. Why did the chief of police at MC Point those inciting the riots and arsonists were not from Minnesota? Because a lot of them wasn't from Minnesota, and some of them are fooled by looking at their rental cars and seeing that they were out of state plates, so they figured automatically that it might have been from, drove in from out of state. But rental cars, think about it, rental cars within your state are most likely going to have out of state tags and license plates. Why was CNN? Yeah, I thought that was pretty crappy. I saw that when that kid got arrested. So I don't think I missed anything. I think I got everything on here. But in closing, if you still watching this now, Mr. Jeff, this is what I've been trying to explain to you. I've even tried to explain this to your son before too, before he went to Facebook jail, and kind of after when we conversed over the phone. The media has a way of sensationalizing a lot of stuff, even when it comes to us black people and you guys. But the thing is, you don't realize it. Let me give you some examples. All right, here we go. I'm going to start off with JonBenet Ramsey just for the heck of it. How long has that been a story? JonBenet's been dead forever, and they still trying to figure out every year something new about JonBenet, new clues, new this. It's been on you guys' mind forever. You got Kaylee and Kylie Anthony, the little cute little girl who got killed by the mom, the little black-haired mom who got off for killing her daughter. Got off. You remember that? But that was all over the news for the longest, right? Every time a little kid gets kidnapped from in front, a little white, blue, blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid gets kidnapped from in front of their house or in front of a grocery store or, inside a grocery store, what are the citizens and the cops do? You see them combing through the woods, trying to find the kid, trying to see if they might have been killed, looking for any evidence of it. And you'd be lying, sir, if you told me that didn't pull at your heartstrings. If that didn't pull at your heartstrings to see these children and even these women who disappear, these grown women who sometimes just walked off and disappeared, who looked like people in your family, friends you might know, women you might have dated in the past, or some women you might want to date. That is the difference right there. Part one. Part two, with us, even if some of these people have committed a crime prior to being arrested and prior to being ultimately killed, here's what we see. We see individuals, maybe Sandra Bland and some of these other females and these boys and men that could wind up that in our eyes look like relatives of ours. They look like sons of ours. They look like cousins. They look like daughters or ex-girlfriends. We as people, we still have an innate tribal instinct about us. And even though I know you have a mixed black child, that's your grandchild, she's a part of your tribe though, because she's related to your daughter or your son, most likely one of your daughters, I think. But the bottom line is that she's part of your tribe because she's a part of your blood. And a lot of these people, I've had friends who wound up being killed by police, and it was accidentally. Why do you think the Chicago police and a lot of these other police departments have had to pay out civil lawsuits to these families? It's not every black who gets killed where the police have to pay out or the city have to pay out civil lawsuits. It's the ones where the burden of proof is shown that it didn't have to go that far, or they use excessive force. That's a big difference when that happens right in your backyard. Mr. Jeff, you don't come out the house every day or even every week and see white kids in chokeholds or knees on necks of teenage kids or you don't hear about little white girls being killed in their, in their house when the police come in and do a raid. You don't hear about that very often. You don't drive down the street and see a bunch of black cops beating on white kids. That stuff, or beating up white girls, or slamming them on the ground. The first thing that will come out your mouth, wow, that was excessive force. Why do you have to do that? Imagine if that was your grandchild, your little mixed grandchild, one day in the future. You know her character. You know her personally. But to a cop, and because of the fact she's mixed, a white cop, or even a black cop, or even a Hispanic cop, we'll say that, they don't know her character. They just see a light-skinned black female. And that's how they're going to see her, as black, not necessarily mixed. They're not going to see the white side, just like a lot of people don't see Obama's white side when you look at him, because he looks more African. So anyway, back to what I was saying. With that in mind, if you saw, you pull up on the scene and you see your granddaughter being harassed, beat on by cops, whether they're white, black, or Hispanic, you're not going to sit there and wait and like, okay, well, let me just wait here, Mr. Cop, and find out what happened after the fact. I need to review the tape, or whatever case. What if you had a black grandson, for that matter, and it was happening to him, but you don't? You got, as far as I know, but I know you got a black granddaughter, and you saw that. You would not be sitting around waiting. You or your wife or any of your family members, they'd be going berserk. Why are you doing this to her? Get your hands off of her. The fuck are you doing, man? Blah, 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 this and that. You'd be irate. You wouldn't be like, let's wait and see the whole story, because you personally know this individual. But to the outside eyes, like me and other people, we don't have that kind of familiarity with that person. So we're going to look at it differently. So that's the same way you guys look at us. But the number one thing I know that white people look at, and I totally understand, is black on black crime. I just talked to you about that in a video I sent you earlier. Black on black crime is legendary. I was explaining to Jeff as well, Jeffy, that he might have, used to hang out in black neighborhoods, had black friends, has black friends. But once he leaves there, he can go back to being Jeffrey. Easily. But when I leave my neighborhood, I'm still who I am. When a cop sees me who doesn't know me, the fuck? When a cop sees me who doesn't know me, all he sees is that black face. And in his mind, through things that he's been through, he's like, this dude could be a potential threat. Could be. No matter what. And it just depends on how that cop is feeling or whatever. Bottom line, he doesn't know me, so he doesn't have any sympathy for me or empathy. So if I wind up getting killed by a cop, even if I show, just like the Philando Castillo, I reach for my damn ID to show him, and he wind up shooting me, thinking I'm reaching for my damn gun. You might know me a little bit. A lot of my other white Republican friends who've known me longer than you, they will vouch for me as a good guy. But to America at large, they will treat me the same way. As what did he do? What did he do? He must have did something to deserve it. He must have pissed the cop off. He must have did this or did that. Then they'll go into my background and find out that I used to be a mid-level gang member. I never sold drugs before, but who knows? They might lie and say I did. But far as, yes, I've been arrested a lot in the past. Yes, I've been expelled from different schools for gang violence. A lot of different things. And that'll all come up. And what kind of picture do you think that paints of me from my past mistakes? It doesn't matter. If it was years ago, they will still bring it up. Even if I'm not doing anything now, they'll do anything they can to justify why I'm dead. So I'm just trying to put that out there, is that the media uses cops killing black people, white cops specifically, to pull at our heartstrings. The media uses little white kids, beautiful white women, and other people to pull at your heartstrings. The same media. But the thing is, black people don't care about that. We really don't. because we got our own situations that we deal with the cops. It's like you guys have that, and I understand why you don't care. Because people will say, "Oh, well, well, white people get killed all the time. It's not a big deal." But yes, it is. That's a lie. If it's a cute little white kid or a beautiful white woman, if it's a regular white man, you're right. The media doesn't give a shit if he gets killed. But if a beautiful white female or a little cute little boy gets killed, it's going to be all over the media, and we both know that. But here's where you and I agree at in closing. I'm sorry this is taking so long, but hopefully I'm not boring you to death. But the thing is, the point I tried to make in the video earlier to you is that, yes, the media is ran by Democrats. Yes, the media is pulling at the typical black Americans' heartstrings. But all of these killings, 99% of them, are in Democrat-controlled towns, cities, and even states in some instances. All the way from Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore, Cleveland, Miami, New York, Baton Rouge, Dallas, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Louisville, North Sacramento, LA. I mean, I could just go on. All ran by Democrats. But they're pointing at the Republicans as if their fault. They're trying to do Trump. This shit has been going on way before Trump, when Obama was in office. So ultimately, yes, it might seem like that I'm just like, oh man, white cops, this and that. No, when black cops do it too, that's why I tagged you in that video about the National Black Police Association. Cops in general that are involved in this shit are pieces of shit. Not all cops are bad. None of these cops out here, I've never had any problem with these cops out here. Ever. They all like me for that matter. And I'm okay with that. But I might, in my life, eventually run into a cop who might have Klan intentions. And I won't know until the situation is over whether or not what happened. It just happens like that. So I'm trying to do my best to explain both sides of that. How, yes, black on black crime is horrible. And it makes us look bad. It does make us look very bad. It makes us look like we're whiny. Like, why can't you fix the black on black crime problem, but then you complained about the police killing you problem? The biggest problem we have with that is that these Democrat mayors have done a horrible job of having black people police black people instead of all these white people who've never lived in these neighborhoods policing black people. That's where it comes from. Because black people wouldn't even be talking all this shit as much if it was black cops killing black people all the time. But Democrats love the race issue. I only bring up the race issue because I've been through it in these Democrat-controlled towns where I've been harassed before. That's my point. These mayors are the ones controlling these bad cops in these Democrat-controlled towns. But what you Republican whites, all you're seeing is cop and white instead of Democrat-controlled towns that are controlling these cops. Minneapolis as well. They haven't had a Republican mayor since the 70s, Mr. Jeff. So please think beyond white and cop and think about Democrat-controlled towns that just happens to be white and cop. That's what I'm trying to get at. The Democrats are responsible for all this shit. They're the ones killing blacks. And these dumb black motherfuckers just can't get it. They don't understand it. I'm done. Good night.